Greetings, nerds. This is CNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing this Monday evening?
It's a Monday.
Yeah, it's a Monday. Like I was joking with you before, I'm like, I just hope, and I'm double checking now that I hit the record button because it's been that kind of day.
It's been a day. We're kicking off February. I'm glad we all survived January.
We did.
And looking back, I kind of miss January for a change. But I'm also, February's a short month.
Yeah, it is a short month. It's your birthday month too. So happy early birthday.
Let's not get too out of control. Calm down. Take a chill. We got some headlines to talk about. Stuff that won't be happening in February, but will be happening potentially in March. Snyder Cut. The 4-hour saga.
Yeah.
It's one movie will be dropping on HBOMax on March 18th.
Yeah, so I wonder, okay, so it's 4 hours. So basically, he's just going to roll them and we're just going to go straight through. I'm sure there's probably some edits because I would maybe trim, 5 minutes, but it sounds like, we're going to have the full 4-hour event here.
Are you going to do one sitting?
Oh, hell no. There's no way. I'm going to break it up. I mean, unless you want to do something crazy, like we could do a 4-hour watch along, with folks, and then we could all watch it. And I am looking forward to it. I actually have to say, it's a reward. I feel a certain kinship to the Snyder Cut fans to the being a Star Trek fan, because it was a kind of similar dynamic where people lobbied so hard to keep that show on the air for a third season, and of course it became more popular over syndication. And I feel like this Snyder Cut is in that same vein of fans really pushing hard for it, and Warner Brothers finally was like, okay, we'll do it. We'll do Zach a solid and give him a 4-hour film.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it. I'm looking forward to potentially not having to keep talking about Snyder Cut, because all answers will be answered. Yep. All questions will be answered. But I'm also kind of I have such low freaking expectations for it. And I don't even think they can reach that. I just don't. I guess you could say I've seen the original Justice League, but I skipped so much of it that I don't know if it counts as a viewing experience. So, March is going to be a packed month. Yeah. We're easing through. Now we're heading into February. More things are going to come. So I like that we're getting more content at the end of the day. So.
Oh yeah. I was just thinking this weekend how we're going to thinking about our scheduling of shows, because we're going to have a full slate of everything from DC and Marvel, because we'll go from WandaVision into Falcon and Winter Soldier. So it'll be a fun challenge.
Speaking about things coming to HBO Max is still planning on launching a Batman. Oh wait, now they're launching a Batman podcast titled Batman: The Audio Adventures. A take on the Dark Knight that sees Jeffrey Wright lending his voice as the Cape Crusader.
Yeah. So I saw this a few weeks ago. I think we'd even talked about it maybe late last year about some of the content that may be coming in the Batverse when they were announcing the TV spinoff to Matt Reeves' The Batman. And so then I saw this today, and Jeffrey Wright is going to be lending his voice to it, and it's a huge cast of people who are going to be a part of this show. They don't, for example, Chris Parnell, Seth Meyers, Brent Spiner, John Leguizamo, Alan Tudyk, and many, many more. And so they're doing this podcast that will be a comedic take on Batman. So it should be interesting.
Just give us the Batman, okay? That's
Yeah.
all I want.
Yeah.
And also, let me see, any more DC news? Yeah, DC. So Titans, third season still to come, and the third Robin. We already knew that. We already know that Robin is coming back as Tim Drake.
Yeah, but they cast the third Robin this past week, as well as some other additional news. Scarecrow is going to be in the third season, and he's going to be inmate in Arkham, but this time he's going to be offering his services as a profiler and consultant for the Gotham Police Department.
When is the third season dropping?
They're filming now. I want to say later this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Moving on to Marvel, Ryan Coogler is creating a new series based on the Kingdom of Wakanda for Disney Plus. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another biggie. And it's Kingdom of Wakanda, but also I think it's a 5-year deal that he's got with Disney Plus to create other content also. But the first one out of the gate with this deal is going to be a Black Panther spinoff.
Yeah, but we don't. For some reason, when they say Kingdom of Wakanda, I think animated. But that may be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. And also, I mean, we were talking about it during our Black Panther review and spoiler session, is that movie works because it wasn't just about Black Panther, it was about Wakanda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so launching who needs a sidekick? You have your own country.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's supposed to be a drama too. So, to your point, so yeah, I mean, it definitely lends itself to what we discussed during our spoiler cast about Black Panther.
Did you look at the set photos for Thor: Love and Thunder?
I did.
And what did you think? Because I did not.
What did I think? So there were several set photos, and so we had, of course, Chris's, Hemsworth and Pratt, standing beside one another. Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, has received a costume update, and so has Thor. Also, it's not Fat Thor. Looks like muscle-bound Thor is back, and the long hair Thor is back, and it looks like he is wearing his. It was the Thunderstrike costume. It was, I think, around the 80s. Someone posted on our socials that Thor looked like he was stepping out in an 80s rock band in the costume that he had on. But another thing with the set photos, there were a couple of goats who were in the shot as well, and folks who are familiar with the comic, I guess, those two goats are basically carry Thor on. He has a chariot, and they're the drivers of that chariot. So we'll see. I guess we'll be seeing a lot of Asgard in this particular film. We also got set photos of Nebula and an updated costume, and also Sean Gunn, who was it Klingler? What was the character's name that took over for Yondu?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's also. I'm blanking on it right now, but his character was also in the set photos, and of course, you saw Yondu's arrow, which of course, we saw him practicing with that at the end of I want to say at the end of the last Guardians of the Galaxy film, if I recall. So those. Yeah, so they were on the Daily Mirror UK, I think, was the folks who had published those set photos. And so yeah, I mean, we are getting more MCU, even though it's going to be a bit before this film comes out, but they are filming down under, and yeah, it was just awesome to see those set photos.
So I didn't look at the set photos. I didn't even realize any dropped, but that's fine. But I did happen to watch the latest WandaVision mid-season trailer on Disney Plus, and I don't have any complaints about it. I don't think it's giving away too much. I think it's really because this show is such high concept.
Mm-hmm.
We know it probably lost some viewers initially because of just how they had to do the setup during especially those first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
That I think it's trying to remind you, okay, this show is about to take a drastic turn and really delve into that Marvel universe that you know and love. So come back because we've only just begun. Yeah.
I would agree with you there. I think it definitely has the visuals in the mid-season trailer do have more familiar beat for the Marvel cinematic universe. Definitely, people who may have bailed because you're right. It is definitely a very high concept, very slow burn, but I'm not going to complain about that piece. I think that you're right. I mean, I think that's just the way it was structured. And that's a separate issue, I think, than whether or not the show is good or not, or, whether or not it's, dropped all at once or if it's a slow burn pace. I think that's a whole different issue than whether or not it's good or not. So, but I think that the trailer definitely does. You're right. I don't think it gives away too much. That if you have been watching this show, you'll be you're probably already starting to put the pieces together anyway. So it's just sort of like, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah. Speaking about seeing where it goes, we did get the latest installment. We interrupt this program episode. and to me, this episode, I think it's very humorous how the first time I'm actually engaged in watching WandaVision is the episode with the least amount of Wanda and Vision. and I was thinking about it, and I truly believe it's because it was so meta. With we are finally introduced to characters who have the same questions as we the viewers have. So their perspective on what was happening was almost comforting and kind of like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
And there is life happening outside of this bubble. And so this is a mystery, and we see outside. And I like it. There was some Marvel humor integrated into this, and it felt like a movie all of a sudden. Not to say that the first few episodes I was thinking, where was the budget? Not that at all. Again, this is a very high concept TV show, and that has had to build up to this moment so that they can have an episode to say, oh yeah, remember guys, you're trapped in this bubble for 3 episodes, but MCU exists outside of this bubble, and things have been happening.
Yeah, a lot of things have been happening. So the way this episode starts out, it gives us context as far as where we are in time.
Yep.
As far as the story, and so it does confirm that that WandaVision does happen after the blip, and not only the blip, but also the we're back, and we see the post blip snap where people are starting to return after being gone for 5 years.
Yep. So initially, I'm watching it as Monica's coming back, and I was really mad. There was some bad CGI. It was really bad. And then about a few seconds in, it finally it corrects itself.
Yeah.
And then she's running through the hallways. I'm like, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
there.
I have to whenever that scene happened, I literally did I did almost jump out of my chair in glee because it was like, yes, I don't know if it was as you said, this episode really brought the things that we've seen in the first three episodes and the where we last left MCU with Spider-Man Far From Home and all the events from in-game, etc. And I was like, yes, I'm seeing things I'm familiar with now. It was the story was, I started, I was like, and I think we were texting a little bit about it Friday night. I was like, I feel like they're starting to put the pieces of the story together. And and as a viewer, I was like, okay, this I now I'm starting to buy into this.
Yeah, the snap and the blip are such critical, monumental pieces of this 10-year-long narrative that for them to use it as the opening of this episode and to really not only pull you back into this story, but to connect you to Monica, I thought it was very genius. I like how there was tragedy involved with Monica. What she missed out on. It only took about 2 lines of dialogue to get there. And then also it really headlined, or it really brought us to Sword and our introduction to Sword and what they're all about and Monica's dynamic with Sword. And then the ball just kept rolling where all of these characters we knew were out there start to get brought in. I mean, we have the FBI, we have Darcy come in, and then it just is this little meta episode where it's like, really? We're watching a sitcom with 2 Avengers?
Yeah.
Why? What is happening? And then in this backtracking of like, if you've been watching all these episodes, this is why Wanda encounters this mobile plane. This is the beekeeper that you saw on all this stuff, and and I thought it was really done well. I don't have any complaints about that. I again, like I said, this is the episode where I actually was pretty engaged throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah, same here. And and one of the things you mentioned about the story and with post blip and how they handled that, and Monica learning about Proton, her mother dying of cancer, and before she got back, and so it really did get into the ramifications. Whereas Far From Home was more the comedic part of of life after the blip, whereas this is we see the tragedies that people dealt with from it as well.
Right.
And and that was, so I think that, again, I think for me that really started pulling, and we talked about this, I think maybe the first time for the first episode, where we were like, okay, maybe about halfway through, and I think you said it yourself, they'll start pulling things together. And then I was like, yeah, and I'll probably be about 4 or 5. I'll be like, yeah, I'm all about this series, and here I am. But I think that was, and because I think they you're right, they did do a good job of connecting what we've seen to what we know, as far as the meta aspects of, that Jimmy Woo was like dead on. It's like, yeah, we're watching a sitcom about the Avengers.
Yeah. Why?
Why?
Who is doing this to you? And I like how he's also FBI, and he just found himself like trying to investigate. He just stumbled upon this, and then now he's met Monica, and now he's fully entrenched in Sword and all this stuff. I think you got a little bit of a fish out of water from him, which is
yeah.
green.
Yeah, which is very cool because again, that earnestness and that fish out of water aspect of Jimmy, we saw that a lot in Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So so again, it's that familiarity and and I think it was, and looking at it now, I understand why they did it the way that they did, because I know you made a note, why didn't they start with this episode, but I don't know if they had. I don't know if I mean, yeah, granted, I probably would have been less frustrated from the beginning, but now having seen the four and see them as a unit, I'm glad they actually rolled it out the way that they did.
Yeah, I agree. I've been thinking about that note a lot, and at the end of the day, you have to fully understand Monica's story. You have to find yourself trapped in that bubble for a period of time before you can escape it and start to realize that that is not the world and something else is going on. Something that I did want to also bring up about this, that I was thinking about, is it's very interesting to me how we're almost inundated with this idea that superheroes have fake identities and no one knows who they are, and it's always this double persona. But Marvel, over the span of 10 years, has created this universe where even the backup characters know exactly who the Avengers are.
Yeah.
Especially the B-list Avengers. Like, I love Vision, but Vision isn't no Tony Stark. So they know who Vision is. So I think that it's very interesting how there was no question that is Wanda and that is Vision, and they are trapped in a sitcom. There was no, who is this person? Why do they have these powers?
Yeah. True. Well, I guess with Wanda, I mean, thinking back to Ultron and Civil War, I mean, I guess she's had two significant things, because I mean, wasn't she responsible for like part of Sokovia getting destroyed anyway? And then of course we saw the incident in Civil War where they were in when they were in was it Uganda or somewhere, where she puts the bubble around the person and flings them up, and that was very public when it happened, so I guess people are familiar with them, and I guess because of all the Sokovian Accords and other things, I guess their identities, in many cases, were probably made public. Now, whether or not Cap was, Captain America too, because remember they had the whole museum and in it. So I mean, their identities are public, which is very interesting, because in contrast to say the DC world.
They even knew that Vision was dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was really thinking about that. I'm thinking to myself, so they know who Vision is.
Mm-hmm.
No, he died. At what point during the Infinity War did anybody have the time to do like a press announcement?
Yeah.
do they realize then what Wanda went through in regards to his death, which was another thing that the shot of dead Vision.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't blown away for it. I knew there was something coming because of the way people were reacting to this episode about a certain scene, and I can only imagine that was the one they were referring to, which is what they kind of alluded to. So I had a high bar, and so I wasn't too like, oh my god, but I think that was a really cool moment of again reality seeping its way into this world that she's built.
Yeah, definitely. I came into this episode cold. I didn't listen to any non-spoiler reviews or anything like that. So when I did see Dead Vision, it was another one of those. one of those moments, like I pointed at this, I was Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I was like pointing at the screen when I saw that, because it was a one of those moments where I was like, yep. I mean, we always suspected it, we knew it, but then to see it in reality, see it come to fruition, to confirm that he is indeed dead, especially after we know that we are post blip. Definitely built more into this idea that this at least for me, that this construct that Wanda, that this is something Wanda has built. And then also whenever we see Darcy, whenever they have the technical, the corrections within when Darcy's watching the sitcom being portrayed and the edits going back and forth done by Wanda, whenever people start to piece together that something's not right here. Mm-hmm. And then Wanda, so I'm feeling more like this is the Feige, he touched on it, that this is his version of the House of M in the MCU.
Right.
That this is a creation of Wanda, and I don't think Sword or Mephisto is the one that's directing it. She's doing it. That's where I'm at now as far as my theory spiral.
I go back and forth on it. I've always said that it's her since the very beginning, and that's what pissed me off about the slow burn initially. It's like everyone knows what's going on, but at the same time, I still think that there almost has to be someone pushing her in this direction, because she's lost a lot of people. We all lost a lot of people at the end of Endgame.
Yeah.
But there are still enough people for her to turn to. So how did she go from Tony's funeral and still end up misguided, Yeah. But it's a very grief and PTSD.
Yeah. Right.
With everything she's gone through, her powers and how already emotional they are. Mm-hmm. I think, and knowing Feige, it almost can never be, oh, they were just doing this on their own. No, there's somebody pulling at least one string in the background.
Yeah, I could see that, and especially given that if this is indeed the case where this will end up creating a situation that blends itself into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that there'll be something. And of course we still have the kids. I mean, because with the trailer, the mid-season trailer that we saw, we did see the scene of Vision walking in costume on Halloween with all the kids in around. So so we still have the kids out there as far as the two, Billy and Speedy and Wiccan, that still could be younger. We still may have that tie-in. We still have other. We did see Vision breaking through the wall, and there's been some speculation that when he breaks through the wall, that may be the thing that completely brings this house that Wanda has created down and unleashes her villainous run that that leads to Doctor Strange. So I mean, there's definitely some things that could go that are at play that so I do agree with you that there is something out there that's pulling the strings that will influence how things will unfold for Wanda.
Well, I think that on that note, we should talk about Batwoman because we got a lot of strings. I didn't know how to do it. I mean, we are talking about bad guys, and Batwoman's episode this week. Jeez. Batman overlord. I think a horrible drinking game to play would be to watch this episode and to take a shot anytime Sophia is mentioned.
Yeah. Sophia or his ass.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
it was pretty ridiculous how many times I heard that name throughout this episode. What are your thoughts on the latest Batwoman?
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought that it was it really did to me, having Victor and his very confident self and who he is, and he knows who he is, but juxtaposed with Ryan still finding herself, and especially the scene where they're together, the first time she encounters him in the hotel suite, in the old and Kate's version of the suit, really, it really set up a good dynamic for her coming into her own and coming more comfortable with becoming Batwoman. And then that was sort of that was kind of a theme, I thought, throughout the episode too, because even when you look at Sophia and Alice's interactions, as far as Alice thinking Sophia's behind the downing of Kate's plane, and then but really getting into their history, as far as I did get some Al Ghul vibes there watching that story unfold. Was also good. And of course, I continue each week. I continue to grow. I really love the relationship that, like as you set up with Mary, how they were really allowing this character to grow, and also Luke and Ryan as they coalesce together as a team. So I felt that this was a very solid episode. Was it?
Oh, I thought you were going to continue.
No, I'm done. Yeah.
You went through the entire episode, and I'm like, okay.
No. It's just some of the highlights. Sorry. I still got some more.
No, I'm so on this episode. I prefer last week's episode a whole lot more than this week, just because it felt very much a Sophia setup. Also, Black Mask was in the background, which the way they threaded Black Mask throughout this episode, I thought was really clever, because we knew that character was going to appear at some point this season. And although this was a very Sophia focused, almost to a detriment, in my opinion, I still noticed how they were slowly weaving the thread of Black Mask as well. I also think that this episode, Kate, her presence was almost too loud for me. Just because I, as a viewer, I really like Kate Kane. I like first season. I have no problem with Ruby Rose. But I'm also really trying to focus and get on board with Ryan. And I think very much, I felt in a way that writing-wise, it's almost as if Luke's in the writer's room. No, we're holding out for Kate. Give Ryan a chance. Between Alice, which I totally understand why it has to be all about Alice with that, but then you add on Sophie. And then you find out that we already knew, but then they just remind you there is history with Sophia and Kate. And then we add on Jacob Kane. And then this whole thing with Mary and Luke and them fighting, and I never like to see my parents fight. At this point, Mary and Luke are pretty much my parents on this show.
Yeah, they are.
It's just, it was like Ryan's there, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was very weird watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, I understand why we're moving forward with this, but it still doesn't feel as if Ryan's really the focus of the show. It's still all about Kate.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of my. I'm glad you brought that up because I had some as far as criticisms I did have for the episode and the concern and the concern that I have moving forward with this season is, I mean, granted, we know Kate's always going to be a presence because of, like you said, because of all the characters that you listed, but they've got to find they came very dangerously close, and I think to your point and your point, crossed the line of Kate, taking up all the oxygen in the room as far as this episode, and so I'm concerned about that just moving forward with the series as they try to establish Ryan as the lead, because yes, obviously Kate is going to be there. The mystery of what happened to her, just like in season 1, they had what happened to Bruce, and that was and thinking back, that was the critique that you and I both had. We were worried about when does this show stop being about Batman and start being about Batwoman?
Yeah.
And it took them a while to get around to that place, but I felt that they finally did, and I'm hopeful that they will do the same this season. That yes, we know Kate's gone, but we don't need to spend significant portions of the episode lamenting about her not coming back, not coming back. Just okay. Let's stipulate it's there. Now let's just see how Black Mask, and also how the Joker, given that Jack Napier's name was also in the painting on Kate's phone at the end of the episode. How do they all play into this, and how blackmailing Alice into thinking that Sophia was the one that downed Kate's plane.
Yeah, there's still so much mystery with that, and Sophia's involvement or lack thereof involvement. I think Sophia also didn't work for me because she didn't feel threatening. There was something about, and Sophie really pointed this out, where it's, why is Alice still alive? If she did the unbreakable thing, which we get, you release Desert Rose, which, newsflash, is a cure for everything. It's horrible. That's horrible. You release the cure for everyone. It's really so sad. But I also like how she was talking. It's a valuable resource, and what happens with valuable resources? People take what they want and destroy it all. So that's so I appreciate that. But they needed a moment where she. Like, for a moment, I thought, are they going to kill Sophie? Because that would be... nothing against Sophie, but for me to buy into this person as being really the villain, they need to take out a character, because she keeps saying Kate's still alive. Yeah. So they couldn't even kill Kate.
Exactly. They killed Kate, didn't take out, Julia Pennyworth, or because they did kind of create this menacing character figure, like a Ra's al Ghul, in season 1. But I almost saw her. It was like almost a mentoring, motherly nature with Alice, and and Alice is, because Sophia herself pointed it out. If she wanted Alice gone, Alice would be gone. So I really do think that Black Mask and possibly Joker are the ones who are pulling the strings here, and utilizing Alice as a means to an end to mess with Sophia.
Yeah, for her to say that is different than having an action to back it up. Like, for some reason, half of the stuff she talked about, I was like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't know this person. And also, where the heck is your Lazarus pit? Because the moment she said, I'll give you back Kate, I was like, okay, let's see it. Let's see
see
the
it.
Lazarus. We've
They
already
got
heard
the
about the 5 years on an island.
exactly. All the
Oh,
DC, all the tropes are there. So.
so trophy, that was another thing. But to get back to Ryan, you're absolutely right. The best scenes with her were with her and Victor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in thinking about it, the problem with this episode is that Kate had such a presence because all of the like Sophia, Alice are all obsessed with Kate
Mm-hmm.
and this exciting incident. And yeah, a hero for in this genre, you need that villain. You need that person who you, for whatever reason, end up being unable to defeat.
Right.
And as much as last episode they were pushing that's going to be Alice, they have not sold us on that yet.
No, they haven't.
And they need to push that back. We need more Ryan, Alice. And can you imagine this episode and it was Alice and Ryan on the island?
Oh,
That'd be interesting.
that would have been interesting. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Too soon, but still, I think that we need those episodes. There were a few episodes in season 1 where we had to buy into this relationship that as much as Alice is a weirdo, at the end of the day, Kate only sees her sister, not Alice. So they had to do a lot of groundwork, and I think that that's what they need to do this season to make Ryan more of a presence.
Yeah. I mean, they did a good job utilizing Victor as that foil to Ryan this week, and also showing how Ryan can use her street smarts to be an effective Batwoman. Because one of the other scenes that really stood out to me was whenever she was talking to Luke and Mary about, I know how they think, how I run in the same circles, and right. and so Luke is still in some ways he's in a very sheltered. He definitely is a sheltered person. Mary, we learn through this story that she's still very sheltered too, and even though she sold all her shares in Hamilton Tech, she still has a lot of blind spots. Whereas Ryan's like, hey guys, a couple things: one, $12.50 an hour is insulting when you're a multimillionaire, but two, I know she knows how the criminal element in Gotham works because of her circumstance. She's had to deal with those people to survive. So I'm hoping they'll continue to build on that throughout the season, and hopefully they will show how Luke and in particular will gain to appreciate that as Ryan grows as Batwoman.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really hard with this show because 9 times out of 10, all of the episodes are written really good. So even though I'm so on this episode, it was still it still felt like we were moving forward.
Yeah.
So as long as we keep moving forward, I'll be fine. And that's really it. That is all I pretty much have to say about Batwoman this week.
Yeah. Damn, though, you got that wig.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that eventually that suit would get changed because we've seen the photos of the new suit.
We did. Yeah. But yeah, I don't have much. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I think it was, like I said, it was a solid episode. Wasn't the best, wasn't the worst. It was. You're right. It just carried the ball forward, and then we'll just have to take a break for a week because the Super Bowl's next Sunday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no new Batwoman next week because they wisely are not going to try to counter program over the Super Bowl.
Who's in the Super Bowl this year?
Super Bowl this year is Tampa Bay and the Kansas City Chiefs.
I was just gonna say, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because I knew Tom Brady was in it, and I know he's on the Bay, but I wanted to confirm the Chiefs. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is it for us tonight. Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. But most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.